people who are seeking IDs within the border region, not necessarily the northern region, but the border region, an issue that has really brought a lot of hue and cry. And then there was a ruling that was made by the courts concerning who's the majority in the House. Is it Kenya Kwanza or is it Azimio? Incidentally, the court said Azimio, yet Kenya Kwanza already holds the position. With me in the studio, I have Muriithi Mwitu, and Muriithi, karibu.
Asante sana.
Now, for me, I think the most emotive topic is the lifting of the committees that vet people when it comes to issuing of IDs within the border region. For me, that smells from here to high heaven.
Yes.
Yes. Your thoughts first and foremost.
First of all, it's important to note that with the beginning or the introduction, not really introduction, but escalation of terrorism, because it was there, but in before early 90s. By 1990s, terrorism in the Middle East went a notch higher, spread to other parts of the world, and eventually, after 2000, really landed in the East African region. So the stringent vetting, let alone what used to happen before, was actually made more stringent after the issue of terrorism came about. And so governments have been a bit keen on that. And you may recall that the entry of even the Kenyan military into Somalia in pursuit of Al-Shabaab started around 2008, I think. That's when we had our forces going to Somali. Now, having that in mind, it tells you that there was a course to make it stringent, because trying to catch up with the Al-Shabaab was a bit tricky, because they were of Somali origin, and you know, within the borders of Kenya, we also have Kenyans of Somali origin. So it was very tricky, and usually some of these terrorists used to be hidden by the Kenyan Somalis. So did the intelligence organs explain those days that it's been hard to catch them even within Kenya, because the people who are actually harboring them are Kenyans themselves now, the ones who live in the northeastern region. Now, the government had to be very keen on people of Arabic origin and the Somali origin. And that's why those committees were very useful. Now, when the president lifts that one, and knowing that the effect of opening up our borders, our entry points, without a visa, was a decree that the president made in, I think, December 2023, to be effected late 2023, to be effected in January 1st, 2024. No, you see,
so that people can come in without
visas. Yet going to their countries, you have to get visas from their embassies. I think something is not right, especially either with the people team advising the president, or the president himself is not listening, because that could be one of the reasons. You don't open the borders, and you can see there are countries that are at war constantly, like the DRC, South Sudan is not really fully at peace. Places like Ethiopia, sporadically they just have wars, riots, chaos every now and then. Somaliland, of course, Somalia, you know, of course, it's been a perennial hub for terrorists. And you know, when you have these surrounding you, and you become the Mr. Nice Guy,
you cannot open it up. I'm trying to see
whether to open up.
Yes, I'm trying to see whether Alice has gotten a clip by Natembea Natembeya said something so
I'm actually getting to that one.
Yes.
I'm getting to that one. Now, once you have now opened the boundaries, it means, and knowing that the counties that are there, they actually, most of them are, they're not going to step in as really Somalis, but they can step in as Muslims. And Muslims have that something that these are kin religiously. So what you're trying to say is that the introduction, the lifting of that, the ban of the vetting committee means one thing, that as long as you're within the borders of this country, proving who you are is neither here nor there. I can just pick somebody and pick an identity and move on with life.
They actually
just the same way you see people from DRC Congo, people from Burundi, people from Rwanda. They don't need to be identified by their own names. They actually, you see some men called Ruth Wanjiko, Florence Akinyi. Yeah? You get to find this in their M-Pesa, and that's how they're surviving. What we don't know is whether these are names of dead people, because they may not necessarily be using people who are alive. So the names that could be used are maybe the names of our beloved deceased people. So that could be what is happening, and that's how come those people survive with a very incognito identity. Now,
actually, I was speaking to a gentleman some time back concerning the proliferation of our borders, and mostly so within the Somalia area, because that's where we Kenyans have an issue with, where people would cross from Somali, as long as you have around 700,000, and they tell me you cross, every police check along that road up to Nairobi, if you don't have the documents, you dish out 50,000. And this is the curse of the police. As in, because the corruption within the police force is the undoing of this country. So you pay 50,000 to every police check until you get to Nairobi, then you get into Isili, and the corruption of the chiefs there, because, need I say, the chiefs now connect you to a family where you kind of get assimilated. They give you a name, and the chief records that you are a relative of this family. And then you're taken to the mosque. If you have people, you marry them. You marry your sisters. So when you marry your sisters, they live with you in the house. Because you're allowed to marry 4 wives. So you live with them, and then after a while you divorce your sisters so that they're married by other people in Kenya organized. Then you bring other people, you marry them. So it's something that is currently going on.
And is within the knowledge of the NIS and DCI. It's not, they know these things. Let me tell you. Let me tell you why. You see, you come to a place like places like Donholm, places like Isli, South Sea. You rent a house to somebody, comes with 1 wife, 2 children. All of a sudden, they say our Islamic community, Islamic religion allows us to marry as many wives. So that's another way of having these. The sisters and the relatives coming in as wives, and all of a sudden, within a few months, they actually get connections to other places, and the story goes that they have moved to, a diaspora, and this is kind of the kind of story that we're having. It's unfortunate that it's happening when the politics of Kenya are heated up. Towards the 2012 elections, it was rumored, and it was not so far from the truth, that because you could confirm with the guys from those communities that you just go to immigration, pay a certain amount, and you're good. So it was rumored that guys were paying 300,000 per head.
That was 2000.
That was around 2011, 12, around there.
So I remember during Kibaki's reign, when
Otieno Kajwang
Otieno Kajwang is literally the one who opened this country. I remember a man who came to me. I knew him.
Yeah.
He used to pretend to be a pastor in Nakuru. I will not mention his name.
Yeah.
He comes to me and tells me that, Freddie, if you know somebody who's looking for a work permit, and that time he's accompanied by 2 women from the northeastern area around him. And he tells me, if you know somebody looking for this, tell us. Tell me.
Tell me.
What I'll do, I have connection to Tieno Kajwang. The amount of money will be this, that. And I looked at him and I thought, my guy, you are selling the birthright of this nation to strangers.
It started long ago. So no one has the moral value, moral authority to condemn the other. They were in ODM that time, and this is what they did to try and match up the votes that they needed. It's unfortunate that this is what now is happening today because of the desperation that is there since the stepping out of the majority voters from the UDA party. That is their support. So to balance.
So
that,
this is going to be used to bring in.
To me, it's political. The move is very political, and I'm very certain that very soon maybe we'll be hearing something like things like maybe the military was not consulted because it's on the takes care of the borders. There was no consultation. That is, the whole national security had not agreed on this, and I think. It's actually going to have a bad taste on the people who've been allowed, especially from the Northeastern, now to be told again the vetting comes back because terrorism is still on.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to come back.
Yep, we've opened up for
maybe it will come back after we have had quite a number of people in, because this is political. If it had happened some other time, maybe you would question.
So you see, allowing people to walk into this country through our borders, they do not necessarily have to have good intentions. So it's just anyone who walks into this place will buy their way through the way they have been doing, and now it becomes easier that they'll be doing it as legitimate citizens.
Alice, please confirm for me if you've gotten the clip. So this is going to be so sad because I listened also to another clip of a press conference that was conducted by Aiden Duale. I think this was after the courts had suspended the census figures for Northeastern region.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things that are happening all at the same time that just don't smell right. First, the court suspends the census figures for Northeastern region. Then shortly afterward, Duale holds a press conference and is talking about the numbers, and he's saying even if you are opposed to the tyranny of numbers, in 10 years' time you will see, because regions in like Nairobi and other parts, you will be able to tell by the number of people you see, meaning the number of people from Northeastern region that you see in the city.
Yeah.
And now the president lifts that, gives a decree lifting the vetting of people looking for IDs. I mean, that string, it looks almost as something that was, it's a script. And it's very unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate that this is what is happening currently. You see, allowing members of, we are not really talking about the members of the Somali community. It's not necessarily members of the Somali community that we are discussing here.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that what the president has done is that they will not just carry it as Islamic, Somali community, but it might be considered as an Islamic affair, And having allowed, banned the vetting committees, it means one thing, that these people are going to access this country, and they will actually begin to occupy the cities and every other place. I think from this same spot, I have actually spoken about how we give out our financial resources, through the banking sector, when it comes to loaning and, interest rates and the like. These are the kind of things that we empower the Northeastern to a level that we ourselves did not set any threshold in the Constitution. They get the large amount of finances. They don't develop their area, they use it to occupy other places. And this is how it works, taking their children out to be educated out there and many other things. Now, the rural-urban migration, calling it the rural now into the urban centers, is actually taking place. And when you hear Dwale saying that mtatuhisi, you'll feel us very soon, it's going to happen. Today, they started from Isli, they are within the CBD, they are occupying highways, like Nyeri. You'll find now they're beginning to, set up petrol stations and the like. And these are how they're moving in slowly by slowly. Eventually, you find them in those towns. And what I'm trying to say is that, yes, it will happen, because there is no way to stop it at the moment unless you do a constitution review. If you don't do a constitution review, then it's going to be very, 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 very tricky. Now, that one, I join it with the Islamic agenda, the Abuja Declaration of 1989 and the subsequent declarations that have been made. What they have now done is that people will now come in as either Somalis or as Muslims through that easy access. And once they get into the country, then it means the vetting, since it's not there, neither the police conducting the vetting, neither that organ conducting the vetting, even the military, I think, feels that they have their hands tied to do this kind of vetting. It's like being unfair to a certain community, because if I come to Kenya, obtain my ID, yes, go back to Somalia, you will have no reason to tell me that I shouldn't come back to Kenya. So business that will be running around that place will be unmanageable. And so I'm just hoping that it doesn't take the direction of there's influx of terrorists into this country.
There's definitely a lot of concern when it comes to that, and we pray that this. And that's the importance of, people taking up very strong positions within the policy areas. I see Christians shying away from politics, shying away from holding certain positions. You see, it is in the policies, the policy area, that a nation is led.
Yes.
When Joseph became the second in command in Egypt, Joseph was in charge of policy.
All right.
He was making the decision, coming up with policies on how the country is to be run.
Yes.
So we cannot shy off from these positions. We need to take those positions and stand firm. Going to State House and taking photos, I'm sorry, but that doesn't work. It is the positions, the policy, you rule by governing the areas where policy is being made. But we seem to be so excited being seen in State House, and when it comes to areas where the policies are being made, we are so upset.
The rest of the community might feel aggrieved by what is happening. But until the day you shall address the segment that concerns equity and the other one for equality in the Constitution, then you'll never have it right.
Okay, just hold on for a moment. Alice has found the video that I was talking about, Natembea basically addressing this issue. Alice, you can play it, please.
Rais amekubali watu wapewe vitambulisho bila kufanyiwa vetting. Alitangazia kule Northeastern. Mimi nimefanya kazi huko. Watu wengi ambao wanatafuta vitambulisho Northeastern ni wa Somali, kutoka Somalia. Na wao wanakuja na vetting committee, wanaipatia pesa, alafu wanapewa vitambulisho. Sasa hiyo committee imetolewa na hakuna alternative. Na wakati rais anatangaza hivyo, kuna machifu 5 ambao walikuwa wameenda kumpangia mkutano, walichukuliwa na Al-Shabaab, hawajapatikana mpaka saa hizi, wako Somalia. Wale watu ambao wamekamata machifu wetu sasa watapewa vitambulisho ya Kenya freely. Watapewa. Sasa wakitoka pale wakienda kuteka nyara watu wengine wakikamatwa, watakuwa wamebeba ID ya nani? Ya Kenya. Watakuwa wanasema Wakenya wamekuwa watakuteka nyara watu. Hao watu watapata pasipoti zetu, waende kula Amerika, waende wakalipue manyumba huko. Watasema Wakenya wanalipua manyumba huko. Mtapewa visa ya kwenda Amerika. These things ziko na serious security implications. Sio kitu ya kufanya kiholela namna hii. Itafika mahali hawa watu watakuja kwa wingi, hata MCA atachaguliwa, hata MP atachaguliwa, hata governor atachaguliwa, hata msukuchu wa president atachaguliwa na atakuwa mgeni, atakuwa Mkenya. Wengine wataingia kwa jeshi, wataingia kwa polisi. Itafika mahali escort commander wa president mwenyewe atakuwa mgeni, hatakuwa Mkenya. Saa hizi mataifa inaangalia mipaka. Ukienda Amerika, taifa kubwa linazuia watu kuingia kwenye taifa lake, wanazuia. Itakuwaje a small undeveloped primitive country inafungura mpaka namna hii ili watu wakuje bila wanataka? Tutakuwa na nchi wapi? Mimi nitasema ukweli yangu, wakitaka kunimaliza mtakumbuka maneno nimesema. But you can't keep quiet when things are going wrong. That one was a wrong policy decision. And it's going to injure us. In another 5 years, utaona kitu ambacho kitafanyika. It's going to be very bad.
Well, the thing that Natambea is saying is a chilling thing.
Yeah.
It's quite chilling when you listen to how he's breaking it down.
Yeah. Go back to the historical demands during even the times of Siad Barre. They called for the northeastern region to be enjoined to Somalia as not belonging to Kenya. And my worry and what I've been explaining here since I started, I was talking about the people from the Somalia, or that Somali origin that is similar to that of a Kenyan or Somali. Those are the people we are worried about. Those who are coming from Somalia.
Yes.
The ones we are finding in our estates down here, Donholm, Don of S8, you go places like South C, South B, Huruma right here. You'll find that you are actually interacting with people who don't even understand a thing, not English, not Swahili, but the Somali, not even anything close to anything Kenyan that you can understand. There's no language to communicate with them. And these people have gotten IDs today as we speak, and they're doing business, And this is now the danger that's actually posing. Years back, I was living in a premise in Eastlands, and downstairs was a guy from the northeastern who ran a pharmacy, and in his house they were working with hydrochloric acid. So I went to some relevant places to ask what exactly is this kind of acid. How do you get to know that this is acid A, acid B, acid D? And because it was actually choking us almost to death as members of the family, because the corridor, it's like a chimney.
Yes.
That stair area is like a chimney.
So
yes, and most structures have got windows there. So these windows, they would allow this kind of gas into it. Now, that guy from the police force, that is from vigilance, told me that it's actually used to making bombs, for making bombs. But you can try and relate pharmacy and this. Now, these things don't have to be prepared very far away. The bombing that took place at the U.S. Embassy were actually prepared at a hotel along Kirinyaga Road, just very near. But the fact that maybe they paid the management, don't bother us. We'll occupy this room for the next 1 month, and here's your money. And they did all they did. Successfully, they were able to do that. Now, how many others have come in And now today what they're doing is that when they occupy one flat, they pay, some of them pay excessively until the landlord is tempted, you know, to do to raise the fee, the rent. And soon as you do that, people of the native origin begin to, you know, step out and find houses elsewhere. What they do is that these guys do it deliberately and they occupy. Yeah, some of them pay. They say we have somebody who is coming in from upcountry, so I think I can pay, and you save the house for that fellow. And that's how they're doing it. Today, as we speak, such areas and many other areas where we have, it's not a problem having people from the Kenyan, Somali origin occupying Nairobi or using that tactic. But when you're living with strangers who don't understand a thing, you don't understand each other, even in language or communication, any form of communication, that again leaves you with lots of jitters. And that is what Natembe is saying now. Going back again to causing terror, such opening, causing terror to other countries. You can imagine you're carrying a Kenyan identity card. You're Somalia. You're from Somalia, and you've carried out a terrorist act, maybe in Tanzania. Tanzania will actually be at loggerheads with the Kenya government that you guys are sending terrorists, and reasons might come around, maybe taking advantage of certain reasons that would actually merit a certain form of friction that would actually lead these guys to take advantage and maybe cause mayhem in such countries, or even the US or abroad. Places like Europe. So the weakness and the looseness of rules at the JKIA, as you've also seen, because it's also becoming a conduit for human trafficking. You know, just the other day you would find guys locked in a house. That thing comes on TV once, it goes, and these guys from Ethiopia, having come from a war-torn zone, they find some solace within the borders of this country. Now the people from this side are actually promising them jobs, you know, and it becomes a way of now stealing them from their home, close to their home area, taking them very far to a place like Nairobi. Then they find themselves in South Africa and wherever, and maybe Brazil, the Arab Peninsula, because there's a lot that is going on, and they're very specific with human trafficking. It's between age 13 and 17. That's another story. But you see, now having JKIA not so, secure, it means that there's a possibility that whatever we have done, whatever the president has decreed that should happen, might actually have ramifications. Even at the airport will be felt there and also within the country.
Now, Henry, it reminds me of Esau.
Yeah.
Esau sold his birthright to Jacob. And in fact, it gets to a place where God says, Esau have I hated. Because Esau did not treasure the things spiritual. He was so casual because the birthright was very spiritual.
Yes.
It came with so many things. And because he did not treasure it, he took the birthright carelessly. God says, Esau have I hated. So I'm just hoping that the people who are selling our birthright come to the realization of what that means.
Yes.
Because in many years to come, whoever wants to win 2017 election using this, he might win using it.
Yeah.
He might actually win.
Yeah.
But then what happens next?
Thereafter.
Yes.
That's
You've introduced snakes into your house so that they can deal with rats.
Legally. Don't forget.
Yes.
Legally.
So you can't take them to court. And
It's a right of every Kenyan now, anyone who has an ID card, to enjoy every right that is meant for a Kenyan citizen. Every Kenyan who has an ID above 18 years has a right. And even those below, by virtue of being brought up or born by the ones who are here, then beyond 18, then definitely we are actually selling our birthright. And like you say, we say the firstborn, like Esau, still getting back to that analogy in a small way. The Jewish culture used to give the firstborn a double portion. So you can imagine Esau despising or ignoring or not really valuing the double portion, while the rest would get a single portion.
Yeah.
You know, half of what he gets. And that is what really would annoy even God himself.
Yeah.
And the same thing is happening. His Excellency the President is a professed Christian. We're not saying that there should be any division between Christians and Muslims.
No.
But
As
he
long
should,
as you're a Kenyan.
he should be championing,
Yes.
when we talk about equity, is that the banking system should be equal to each and every, for each and every person who goes for money from the bank. But now, when we ourselves Kenyans have voted for a constitution that allowed that some communities can operate from a certain religious book like the Quran, while you operate from the secular law that goes with what you think. We are not now operating from a level ground, okay? Because we today Kenya has the Islamic Bank of Kenya. We have we have the Hawala accounts and the like, to the advantage of people who are adherents of that kind of religion, which means that there is no equality. You know, there is no equality and there is no equity. They can access those resources much easier than others. So that's where the equity and the equality thing comes in. You know.
Now, because I can see our time is moving pretty fast. Parliament is supposed to resume
tomorrow.
Yes, and what is happening is that the High Court, a 3-judge bench, decided that Kenya Kwanza is not the majority in the House. Meaning all the positions that Kenya Kwanza has taken as majority in the House are illegal. The Speaker of the National Assembly, the Speaker of the Senate, the Leader of Majority, all those positions, the leaders in the committees, all of them are illegal.
Yeah.
So what do you see playing tomorrow when these guys go to the House? Kalonzo Musyoka was telling his people, you go and you sit where the majority leader is supposed to sit.
Except for somebody like Martha Karua, who has already left Azimio.
Yes.
The rest are still within Azimio. Jubilee, ODMK, this other one, DPK for Eugene Omalo, they're still within.
Yes.
So they have parliamentarians in that house. ODM has a majority parliamentarians within the Azimio formation. UDA, as Kenya Kwanza, they also have their share, and coupled with the many independent MPs, you know, who came as not through any political party.
Yes.
Who took the support to the president. There is no coalition agreement that would be noted or registered at the political parties registrar's office. So that means that that is something that does not come into play. In Parliament, yes, you could be having a number of supporters supporting MPs. They could be more than the ones in the opposition anytime you go to vote.
Yes.
But when it comes to now
officially,
yeah,
when the paper matters,
they would get into the records of the political parties registrar, you know, the register of societies, the register of parties.
Yes.
Now, that's the one who would actually give the actual status of the political parties, and which is what really guided and advised the courts. So it's a tricky affair. It does not affect the executive, it affects the National Assembly.
Yes.
And maybe the Senate, if it's going to be affected.
Even the Senate,
yes.
yeah.
Because if the same thing is what really empowered the Kenya Kwanza government in parliament when it comes to the votings, then I think when seeing it from a political party perspective, it means that the Kenya Kwanza is actually on the losing end. Article 108 explains that the people with the majority in parliament are the ones who are supposed to take up the position of the speaker, which means Moses Wetangula is on his way out.
Yes.
The leader of majority, Kimani Ichung'wah, is also on his way out, and all other committees which the government side has occupied as a chairman is going to be very tricky for them.
But do you see the Kenya Kwanza outfit obeying the court orders? Remember,
it's not a matter of them obeying the court orders, because it's going to be very rough, very harsh.
For who?
Very harsh on the government side in parliament, because legally, because they will have to discuss it. If that is where it would get to, not really to discuss the court order. The court order is clear. It ought to be obeyed as it has been. Yeah, the court ruling ought to be obeyed as it has been decreed by the judge.
But since I know the Kenya Kwanza, probably the AG, they've already appealed the ruling, so they are not going to move an inch. In fact, yesterday, leaders from Kenya Kwanza said,
actually,
leaders from Kenya Kwanza completely refused. They said that ruling has already been overtaken by.
But I think the appeal was turned down. Yeah, the appeal was turned down. So I don't know. Maybe there's another access into challenging that verdict. But what I see is that we can have a very weak executive when you don't have the parliament in control. And if Azimio now sits down and decides we have to be majority, because what will lead them to do this is so that they can get into a real 50-50 power sharing, which means Kindiki Kithure is also the deputy president is also in limbo whether he's going to be there or not, because you cannot really be in a 50-50 government and have the president and the deputy from one formation. They will negotiate to occupy either the office of the deputy president, not the president, the office of the deputy president, if they choose to work in cahoots until 2027. They will have, it will have affected the position of the deputy president, who should come from the Azimio. Then the speaker would actually be on his way out. The leader of majority would actually swap or be, they get back to the drawing board, and do fresh selections for the person who's going to occupy the minority seat. And this is what would come into play. So how he plays around with the votes from especially the independent members of parliament any other time, because he'll have to make sure that he keeps the independent, and it's going to be a bit tricky because the relationship between him and some members from the Mount Kenya region, which came to around or I think almost 41 or 44, those who didn't vote for Rigathi Gachagua definitely would have a contrary opinion, or maybe they would reconsider to support William Ruto, which I don't think is going to be easy or possible
now
at the moment.
When you consider the fact that this coming Saturday, Raila Odinga, the AUC elections will be taking place, and he would love all the support and everything, do you see the President William Ruto using Raila Odinga to tame his boys in the house so that they don't cause problems for him?
If he wins or if he loses?
Because the House resumes tomorrow. Yeah. I'm very sure by now he has probably spoken to Raila Odinga, telling him, let your boys cool down in as far as this is concerned. Because if you listen to James Orengo and Peter Anyang' and Edwin Sifuna, and then you have Kalonzo Musyoka, it looks as though they're going for it.
They're going for it. These are guys who were left in the cold by the former Prime Minister when he was doing the appointments and the negotiations with William Ruto. And these are people who've been with him when he did his 2018 negotiations with Uhuru Kenyatta. He left out majority of them, then went by himself. There is that disgruntled lot in the ODM formation.
Yes.
ODM per se. ODM specifically
itself.
ODM.
Yes.
And that's why I'm saying that there are others who are going to go for the kill, others will be sympathetic, and they are the ones who are in government. But seeing what is happening and what the people like Gladys Wanga were actually celebrating in advance is that it is time. You know, it's time to take over, and I believe the likes of Emilio Odhiambo and others are actually waiting in Parliament to cause mayhem.
You can be very sure there will be a lot of drama.
There'll be a lot of drama. There'll be a lot of drama,
Millie.
which I don't think not only Millie. You can see now that's Millie and the young parliamentarians who are also in objection to the broad-based friendship. You know.
Yes.
Those ones are going to come up against what Raila Odinga says.
Yes.
And Raila Odinga right now, the president does not have much influence on what would be the outcome for the Saturday's elections. Whatever budget that was set aside for him will be used until that day. But he might choose whichever direction it goes. He has no issues, although Raila Odinga would feel that he has no debt to pay, but go back to default settings and do the Kenyan politics. If the default setting is to unite the ODM.
If it does not win the Saturday AUC election, I think Ruto will have a very difficult time in 2027.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. The 44 guys who rejected the impeachment are the disgruntled lot with the leadership of the president. And the ethnic profiling that has been happening in the presence of the president and using the president's microphone in open air, speeches and rallies that they've been conducting in various sections of this country. It's been very clear that it's against the people of Mount Kenya and specifically the Kikuyu. And these are the kind of things I said here, that the drums of 2006 are actually playing. And now the problem is that the president was in the camp that was playing the drums in 2006. Now seeing these things coming up, I think the president should make a very quick turnaround. But I don't know how he's going to convince the Mount Kenya voters, the Mount Kenya parliamentarians and also voters to support what's going to happen in Parliament, because Parliament, I believe, he's going to rule with a very weak National Assembly. So it's not going to be easy, because ODM and Azimio would like to have control of a government. And knowing too well that takes them close to impeaching the president with the number of votes, they might choose first to put to test the impeachment thing against the president, not so very far away from December this year, towards the until towards this year. That's something that's going to be within the strategy, or even not as late as August. Impeachment, the first impeachment trial might take place.
If I think Raila does not win, but if he wins, Ruto is home safe and dry, I guess.
Not quite. Yeah, because the people who know that if Raila Odinga is not really in the campaign trail, because age is going to catch up, and like I'm telling you, he's not growing younger, he's growing older. And when age catches up, and maybe his state of health is not really, would not really be comfortable in that kind of rush. Definitely the guys who would like to be their own men, and they'll begin now to have things their own way. So with the ODM politics, I know it's going to be a bit hot. You've seen that there are so many people who are not who are openly criticizing the broad-based government from ODM. As much as now what is happening, they are actually upbeat that there's going to be some change, and it's going to put them closer to the echelons of power. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Muriithi. Obviously, Kenya becomes a very important prayer item for all Christians because of some of the things that are being done. Because the policies and decisions that are being passed, they are going to affect you, and then they will affect your children, and they will affect your children's children.
Yeah.
So it's something you and I need to pray for, so that we not just pray, we pray and take action. What kind of action, I don't know, but we need to pray and take action, even if it's going to court, even if, whatever it is. We need to take action so that we can stop some of these policies.
But we need to pray.
We do.
We need to pray. When if what is being condemned or criticized in the daily is now openly, it means the president should sit back and redraft his way that is pathway to leading this country ahead. Because what is happening right now, I think he needs prayers. As we said, we're calling on everyone who can speak to God, and that is us, me, you, and everybody else.
Yes.
Let's pray for this country, because if he goes wrong, the country goes wrong.
Yeah, but we suffer the consequences of his decision affect us.
Yeah.
So we got to bring the curtains down on the show. Do have yourself a lovely morning. Remember, at around 11:30, you're going to have Gatuzi. We'll look at the counties, what is happening there. And then at 2 p.m., we have the scoreboard. We'll look at some of the team that lost over the weekend and the consequences of that. Do have yourself a lovely morning.